Hey lads, welcome back to what is episode number 15 of the ToonTALK podcast brought to you by Magpie247. If you are watching this on YouTube, yes, you are seeing this right. This is a video format right now. I am joined today by our very special guest slash co-host from Magpie247. I am joined with Paul. How are you doing?
Oh, on this fine Monday morning when it's absolutely raining, pouring down. I've just recovered or semi-recovered from man flu, and I had to watch that game yesterday. I'm absolutely all the full, yeah, for like a summer's day, isn't it, really? I'm ready for the therapy session, Ian. I'm ready for the therapy.
So am I, and Lord knows we're gonna need it after that
Oh, yeah.
performance. Today we are obviously discussing the derby result over the weekend. We are also going to cover the Champions League result against Bayer Leverkusen, which was pretty disappointing in and of itself. And then we are having a bit of a look ahead towards the cup tie against Fulham and maybe even our next Premier League fixture at home against Chelsea. But there is obviously only one place we can start, and that is yesterday's unbelievably disappointing result in the derby. First of all, what did you think about the 11 players who started the match yesterday?
To be honest, when I saw the team, I was quite okay with it. On paper, obviously the game isn't played on paper. I was confident that our 11 were better than their 11. It was the correct 11, possibly barring one position. To me, I thought I would have started with Jake and Murphy because we're playing a lot of short stuff, kicking it about, trying to keep possession. I thought we would have a lot of the ball, and in doing so, there probably wasn't going to be much space in behind Sunderland. So to me, Alanga, if he's ever going to have a good game, we'll get to that in a minute. It's going to be in a game that we're stretched and we're looking to try and play the ball in behind and to break on the opposition. I thought Sunderland would sit deep. I thought that they'd keep the shape. So I didn't really see why Alanga was playing. I don't think he's done anything to suggest that he would have been a difference maker in yesterday's game. And I thought Jake and Murphy perhaps should have been given the start. But apart from that, I was quite happy with the starting 11.
Absolutely. So was I. I completely agree with that. I think we actually discussed that in the group that I would have started Murphy ahead of Elanga too. The thing with that is it seems harsh for a player or new signing like Elanga to not be given any chances to prove himself, but especially in such a big game, it helps not only to have someone like Jacob Murphy, who is a Geordie himself, who knows what it means to put on that shirt and play in that particular game, but also just to offer something different instead of just plain running. Some whipped in crosses, like you said, someone who can actually find Voltemade because Voltemade had an uncharacteristically very poor game. That's even without talking about that horrific own goal he scored. But I don't think he touched the ball at all in the second
To,
half.
to, to be
So
honest, to be honest, he was probably that shocked that there was a cross put in for him. He probably just felt like muscle memory. Oh my God! I remember these times I used to get bloody crosses, and just thought I better attack it in some sort of way, shape, or form. But goodness me, yeah, you touched upon it before. Great Alanga with running. He's a great athlete, but as I've said about a few of our players, they are great athletes. They can run really, really fast. So can Gordon. It's not all on Alanga. But how great are they at actually being a footballer? That's
mhm.
the that's the question. That's the million-dollar question that a lot of fans are asking at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the those questions are rightly being asked because he hasn't really shown us much more than that, especially his crosses when he gets towards the byline are often skied over the bar or going towards the corner flag. So
The Miggy upgrade. Remember that one? Do you remember that one?
yeah,
Hey God, we
yeah,
have to
I
laugh
do
out.
remember that one.
Hey God, the Miggy upgrade. You're telling me, honestly, mate, he's more like the Timu Obertan as opposed to the Miggy upgrade. I'm yet to see it yet myself.
Yeah,
Like,
completely
shocking,
agree. Uh,
absolutely honking.
Apart from that, I was happy to see Lewis Miley start because I did think
Yeah.
he had put in the performances to warrant a start. But yesterday wasn't necessarily one of those performances, and the most surprising thing at all to me was the fact we didn't get to see Joe Linton, because a game against Sunderland seems like a prime Joe Linton occasion,
It does,
even
doesn't it?
even if
Yeah,
it's just
like
off of the bench.
in case of emergency, break glass and play Joe Linton.
Exactly, or
Um,
break opponent and play
yeah,
Joe Linton.
you wondered. I was screaming throughout the game. Like I say, I've full of man flu. Oh, struggling my way through it. But I'm sitting there going, somebody, please, just lay. I had to laugh. It was something like the 92nd minute, and they started all getting a load of handbags. Sunderland players, Newcastle United players, handbags at 10 paces. And I was like, where was this
Yeah.
fight? Where was this, fire? I want you to be literally throwing, thunder, spitting thunder for the entirety of the match. And you do it in the 92nd minute. I was like, where's that passion in the
Yeah.
second minute? Joe Linton's got his limitations, of course. He hasn't had a champagne season. He's probably had about two good matches so far. But, if ever there was going to be a game that you felt Joe Linton was going to be the option, it was going to be, that game. Tonali's not been great recently. I think he's carrying a bit of an injury and a knock. Um, Bruno wasn't able to get into the game, and I thought you just needed somebody in there to fight fire with fire. There was a little bit of dirty tactics going on from Sunderland, and I thought we needed to shithousery, 101 a little bit more. We needed to get physical a lot. Again, I think we lost a lot when Burn went off as well. We'll get to that, but definitely, I thought Joe Linton was a miss. Was he keeping him back, trying to keep him fresh for the next game? I don't know, and that's before we
Hmm.
get to the other midfielder who was sat, sat on his backside, 40 odd million quid, just sat there, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
happily just collecting another paycheck.
Yeah, so some daunting stuff there. You pointed out. I'm really confused as to why Joelinton didn't come onto the pitch because, as you said, we genuinely just lacked the belief or the
The bite,
understanding. Yeah, the bite, the
yeah,
understanding
yeah.
that this is an important game for both fan bases, really. The one thing I thought when the game was over was there were 22 men on the pitch and only 11 of them realized this was a derby and all 11 were wearing red, unfortunately, which is about the biggest compliment I can give the Sunderland team because they didn't play a
That,
good game at all. If Voltemade doesn't put it in our own net, they don't score and this
that's
just ends
100%
up in
right.
a nil-nil.
Yeah, they were shite. We were just shiter. Them
Exactly.
going on, literally, the wank socks were coming out at fucking 94 minutes all around the stadium. I thought it's not because you've been great, it's just because of how ineffective we've been. It,
Mm.
it, it was a sort of cross between a pre-season friendly and a meaningless game at the end of the season where there's nothing riding on it and you're going through the motions ahead of, jetting off around the world or something. It was down to our performance. If we'd have put in 10% of the performance that these players are capable of, we'd have absolutely and utterly blown them off the park. They were horrendous. They were honking. They were terrible. And we gifted them it. I mean, it's the season of goodwill and all that, but it does not, in my book, extend to anybody, from down the A19. Um, so I was just, I'm not going to complain and not say that, they were great or this, that, and the other, and they
Mm.
earned it. They didn't. They did. They did not. The Sunderland fans will dress it up and they'll do whatever they want. And congratulations, it's all about the result at the end of the day. And they got the result and we didn't. But their performance was crap. Our
We
performance
gave
was
them
just
the
a little bit
result,
crapper.
really.
And we, we,
Yeah.
we give them it. If, like you say, if any of them had really turned up, the team, there was one or two decent performances, but there was some honking ones. I did the Finalysis ratings at about 10 o'clock last night because I was that pissed off.
Mm.
I wanted to leave it to chill and to work it straight through. But attacking wise, I thought we absolutely and utterly stunk the place out, and that was not a derby performance. If you go out and you lose a game and you go out swinging, and you've got to accept it and take it on the chin. But when you put in that type of performance, it was cowardly, it was gutless, it was clueless. The plan B was basically plan A with a couple of substitutes. There was just so much shit to be able to pick off the bones of that entire game, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. I think attacking wise, this has been a problem for us for the entire season. We
Yeah.
struggle to create against D blocks, something I pointed out and a lot of other Newcastle fans pointed out over the summer that we would go on to struggle with that because we don't necessarily have a really creative profile in this squad. But I think a game like yesterday highlights again that this squad isn't necessarily the squad from 1 year or 2 years ago that just whenever the creativity is lacking just fights and works their way through to just get that 1-0 or 2-1 result and even just walk the ball into the net to get that result over the line. There's nothing of that of the sort going on at this
That's
moment in
what they're
time.
trying to do, isn't it? And that's another frustration for me. When they get into decent positions out wide, time and time and time again, you'll be like, right, whip it in, get the cross in, let's try and create something, let's get a shot away, a cross away, let's make something happen. The players will then take a touch, and if it's say it's Elanga, he'll then look for Livramento. Livramento will then look for Elanga. Elanga will then knock it in for Bruno. Bruno will then knock it back out, and you're like, just get the fucking ball crossed in.
Mhm.
You will not score from out there 99% of the times. It's about getting the ball and whipping it in, and that's what I said about a bit of a muscle memory for Voltemade. He must have like, oh fuck me, I can get crosses in the Premier League. You know, he needs that. That cross is what he needs for him, up the other end of the pitch. And we're not doing any of that. You've got wingers, if you want to call them wingers, because it's probably
Yeah.
quite a bit of an insult, who are just sort of driving into the box, aimlessly running into players all the time. They're not trying to get down to the byline and whip it in. If they do get to the byline, then they're looking to cut back in and look to play somebody else in. There's
Mhm.
nobody taking it by the scruff of the neck. Um, and like I say, they're making wrong choices all the time, but they just seem to have lost a bit of hunger, a bit of edge, a bit of attitude, a bit of shithousery, and they're playing far too nice. I am sick and tired of seeing Anthony Gordon playing nice. And oh well, look at me goals record. Look at me go. Yeah, the penalty kicks. That's what Liverpool fans don't realise about Isak. Half of his fucking goals were down to spot kicks. Take them out, and he doesn't look as impressive. The Swedish Francis Jeffers, that is. Um, but going to like Gordon, what has happened to him? Does he think he's England's Anthony Gordon? Look, if you're not in the right headspace and you don't want to be here, then fuck off. I want him to stay. I want him to be the Gordon of old. But at the same time, the performances that he's putting out at the moment are fraudulent. And you can come out and say all the right things and stuff after the game, and they did. But I don't want to hear bullshit excuses. What I want to see is a player busting the gut to get the form right on the pitch. Because, you know, the Gordon who came when he first joined us for that first season or so was absolutely fantastic. And again, it isn't just all against Gordon. On the other side, Alanga, where's your nastiness? Where's your edge? Where's your drive? Where's your want to win? It just looks like you've made it and you've gone into your comfortable zone. There's far too many players there, Ian, who are looking comfortable, who are looking relaxed, who are not having to fight for the position. And due to injuries or poor recruitment, we haven't got alternatives to be able to bring in. And the attacking side of it, you're quite right. We haven't been on it this entire season. I've said to Kyle at the matches, even when we're winning, I said, like, you win or you just get by and you scrape a 2-1 against Burnley. And you're like, I'm pleased, I'm delighted for the victory.
Mhm.
I'm not being entertained. I've not thought, oh, we were looking on another day we could have scored 3, 4, or 5. I thought none of that. I'm just going there and just thank fuck we got those 3 points in the bag. And that's how I feel. I don't feel as if, as an attacking unit, this thing has clicked and gelled one little bit. Eddie Howe came out after the match yesterday and said he was pleased with elements. That's like saying your house is burning down. Oh, well, I got warm for a little bit as I watched it burn down. Eddie, the house is burnt down. I don't care that I've been warm for half an hour. The
Mhm.
house is bloody burnt down. You know what I mean? You're looking for small crumbs of positives in an absolute and utter shit show. And I'm
Mhm.
looking for the bigger picture. And even in victory, and even when we've been on reasonable runs throughout the season, when we've had little runs here and there, we have not looked good on the eye, and we've relied on like a 1-0 scraping past Wolves, a 2-1 seat of your pants against Burnley. This
Yeah.
this is where we're at this season, and I would love 10 minutes in the dressing room either before the match or at half time just to explain a couple of home truths to some of the players.
Mhm.
I love all of them, but at the end of the day, sometimes you've got to say some harsh things and you've got to call it as you see it. I love all of them. I think they're all class. I'm 1,000% behind them. As soon as they cross that line, wearing the shirt, I don't give a damn who it is. Um, your reputation, whichever thing you want to go on. I'll be 1,000% behind you. I'll be singing my heart out on
Mhm.
Wednesday night. There's no doubt about it. Hopefully, cold can stay away. Um,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, we need to see a little bit of something back,
Yeah,
and we're not
exactly.
seeing that back at all. And this isn't a reaction to one game, to two games, to three games. It's all season.
Mhm.
Let make that for any Sunderland supporter getting out. Oh, he's rattled because they lost us. No, I've been saying this even in victory for weeks. So, for clarification, for the simple-minded Sunderland supporters who will be tuning into this with a little fucking tiny wank socks out, yeah, they're lined out from underneath the rocks, yeah, they've left the sisters alone for 5 fucking minutes, yeah, piss back off, get in your own lane. It was cute, wasn't it? It was really, really cute after the game. They took a little photo and copied Newcastle again. Loved it, yeah.
Yeah.
Try going back to March and a team photo that we took there down at Wembley and see if you can recreate that one, cocker spadge. Because I don't think that you can. So get back in your lane.
Yeah, the only difference is we don't need Wembley to get back into first division. We get to Wembley to win trophies. But
Exactly.
anyway, um, on Anthony Gordon, I think I'm usually a very, very big Anthony Gordon advocate, but
Yep,
I'm starting to get really frustrated with him too this season. It's not necessarily that I don't think the talent is there, because as you said, it clearly is
it
there.
is.
He has performed for us at a very high level, but he just when he is not performing, he genuinely looks disinterested, and that's really frustrating.
Yeah,
Because imagine if we, to discuss this derby game, just sat here, left for 90 minutes, and just recorded two empty seats for 90 minutes. Then we would have put in as much effort as all 11 men did yesterday in that game. That's just not acceptable from us. But so it isn't acceptable for them either. This is a game which has been highlighted just not just by Eddie Howe, but by anyone who loves Newcastle or who loves Sunderland or whatever, anyone who likes football has highlighted this fixture in their calendar, and still our players didn't get the memo that this was an
yeah.
important game.
They even
Very,
spoke
very
about it though,
strange.
Ian. They even spoke about it before kickoff. They said, "Look,
Yeah.
let's do it for the fans." And again, they're saying all the right things. Of course they are, but your actions speak louder than words. You
Mhm.
go out on the pitch and then, oh, they're tired. Oh well, I feel sorry for you. I really do with your Michelin star chefs and your first class travel. And your millionaire lifestyles and your mansions, yeah.
Mhm.
I feel terrible. You're top of the range recovery. Yeah, you've got a training ground which has had millions spent on it, which is like a five-star hotel in comparison to previous years that have gone by.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel sorry for you if you're driving back home in your Ferrari or your Lamborghini or your top of the range sports car. My heart bleeds for you. I realise that the games are coming thick and fast, but this is what you fought for last season.
Exactly. Yeah. You
You
want to
know,
be a Champions League club? Don't
yeah,
whine and bitch about being in the Champions League.
exactly. So don't
Mhm.
whine and bitch as well about, oh, the fixtures are coming thick and fast and this, that, and the other. And, then you've got some players, oh, I'm on the bench too much and stuff like that. And, it's too much. For your average Joe in the street, you could have picked 11 people out of the crowd yesterday and they put in a better performance than what I saw on the pitch. And that it pains me to speak about the club like that. But
Mhm.
that's the honesty. That is the honesty. And you can come out and you can again say all the right words and stuff after the game. But there's some people who are not putting a shift in, and that's why I said I would love to be at halftime. I'd have got them in, slammed the door shut, and again spoken a couple of home truths because your Gordons of the world. Look, he played in Everton, Liverpool, Merseyside derbies. You've got players there who have played in other huge big games. That effort that they put in yesterday was akin to, like I say, an end of season knockabout. That was
Mhm.
not a derby performance, even, you know, by no stretch of the imagination. And it's so frustrating if they'd put in, like I said, 10% of the effort that they needed it to. They just steamrolled over them because Sunderland's lack of quality was all unsure. Now they're going to be getting weaker. They've got six players pissing off to the AFCON.
Yeah.
So, things can turn around. And look, I'm looking forward to March already. I really am. Um, but from our perspective and looking totally at Newcastle United, I keep thinking, well, Wednesday, I expect to see a performance. I expect to see a reaction. Mate, how many times this season have I thought that?
Yeah.
a bad result, I'm expecting to see a reaction, and you don't get it. You get a meh type performance, but you might scrape a result. And far too many times this season, we have wallpapered over the cracks, and people will say that you're negative and stuff like this. Not, it's called realism. You
Hmm.
know, I want us. I don't want to be complaining. I don't want to be whinging a bitch, and I don't want to be saying that Gordon is not putting the effort in. He's not doing it on the pitch. I don't want to be saying that £55 million for the team who overtime. Don't want to be saying this. I want them to be playing absolutely fantastic. But you can't. You put a ball around a piece of shit. It's still a piece of shit. You're playing like shit. So it's down to Eddie to really get in amongst them and just shake them up
Absolutely.
because they have the talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially with a player like Gordon, he is supposed to be our
Apologies.
most no worries. He's supposed to be our most senior attacker, especially since Alexander the Mediocre has left. He is he is supposed to be the one we look towards when we are up against it, when we need a goal laid on in games. But I think the most telling thing yesterday is that I saw both Gordon and Elanga run towards the byline once the entire game, and both times the ball went over the line without much pressure. That's
And how
how
many
easy a
shots? How
job.
many shots, mate, did we get in the game yesterday?
Two, both
Two,
from Bruno, both from outside of the box.
and both like pass backs.
Hmm.
You know, you,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
you're looking for a response again. You go behind. You look. I was looking straight away. I was like, "Come on, lads, right now, 5-10 minutes of absolutely nutly," because they are going to naturally drop back.
Hmm.
And I thought, this is just embarrassing. We're not exactly taking the bull by the horns. And that's what pissed me off in the 92nd minute when they're getting into handbags at the Sunderland players. You've got literally seconds left and you're wasting it on handbag situations. I wanted the fight earlier in the game.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
don't show me now that you're worried about losing and the consequences of it.
Hmm.
Oh, well, we better show a bit of something now. Where was that in the first half? Where was that when we conceded the goal? Where was the response? Where was the creating chances? We've got £130,000 a week. Gordon on one side, probably not far off it, Alanga on the other side. Where are the crosses? Where are the opportunities being lined up? Where are the shots? We should be absolutely raining down on their goal, left, right, and centre.
Hmm.
Bruno said it. We're a better team. We've got a better team with better players in, and yet they didn't show it. So the only reason that can be is down to heart, guts, spit, determination, fire. It's those sort of things. That's why we've lost that game because we
Absolutely.
haven't
Hmm.
had the performance that we need, and I'm furious about that because it's frustrating because this season, mate, we've thrown away. I think it's either 11 or 13 points from winning positions this campaign,
Yeah.
and it's like Liverpool, you shoot yourself in the foot at home. So at Arsenal, you think, oh, there's me good foot, bang, I'll shoot that fucker as well, and we're out of feet now.
Hmm.
Um, and we're making it difficult for ourselves. It's not as if Sunderland had played us off the park, you would have had to have held your hands up. But the frustrating element again is the fact that they haven't had to. We've just gift boarded them, and there you go. Nah, fuck
Hmm.
it. Don't give a shit.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, because they didn't create anything throughout the game either. They
Yeah,
scored thanks to Nick Voltemade, and afterwards they just had to get back into the physical nitty-gritty part of the game because they knew we were doing that part either. So
yeah.
as long as you won at least one of those duels, at least if you tip that scale towards your side, you were going to see this one out. And it's really, really sad that our players didn't feel up for it or were overwhelmed by the occasion. I don't know what happened. I
I
think.
think it was a little bit after the Lord's Mayor Show. That's what the feeling I've got.
Mhm.
Because there's players, we're Champions League players now, and it's all about that. And yes, that was a huge game for us midweek, no doubt about it. But if you cannot get up for a derby match, it's absolutely and utterly criminal as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I
Whether
think.
whether it's Sunderland or even Middlesbrough, I
Yeah.
expect us to literally. I've seen much worse teams of ours go ahead and beat Sunderland and go ahead and beat Middlesbrough comprehensively. Much worse teams. So what you can't accept is that sort of performance and the tactics alongside it, which I suppose we'll get to shortly as well. The old plan A and plan B type thing.
Mm.
Um, but oh, goodness me, if you play to anywhere near your potential, lads, you win that game, and you've let us down. And the worst thing I've heard since is, we'll start to repair it on Wednesday. You can't you, you can't keep knocking it into the long grass. And well, we'll repair you in the next game. We'll repair you in
Mhm.
the next game. We'll repair you. I've heard this one too many times. That
Exactly.
was the game to repair fans for and to give us a little bit of hope and optimism going into it. Because I don't think we're going to have a massive January. To be honest, we might sign one, we might sign two, but we're not going to be splurging the cash out. So this is what we've got to go for the rest of this season, and that's slightly worrying. If we
Hmm.
were, if we do want to get back into Europe, it's literally on this cup. Get through in the cup, try and win the cup, try and retain the cup, and get into Europe, whatever form, way,
The
shape
yeah,
you can.
the strange thing is we are only 4 points behind fifth at this moment in time, which is
Mental.
insane. That
Yeah,
after the season we have had to be still in touching distance. If we actually performed yesterday, we could have, for one, finally jumped the scum in the table, but also come in one or 1 point off of Palace in fifth or Brighton in fifth or Everton in fifth. I don't know who it is in fifth at this moment in time. I just know it could have been 1 point. And with the season we've had, that's pretty insane to be honest. But that's also more frustrating because this was a golden opportunity to cement your place as that other Champions League club in England, as the fifth best team in the league. And instead of doing so, we've decided to let the turbulations of the summer and the poor results at the start of the season affect every single performance afterwards. And yes, there
yeah,
are a couple of problems like a lack of creativity, like maybe depth in fullback. But when Hall and Livramento both start, this team is good enough to beat anybody. So a performance like yesterday is inexcusable.
totally agree.
That's pretty much
Totally
it.
agree.
The one last point I would like to make, you did say you aren't expecting a busy January period. Me neither, to be honest. That's probably more so to do with the disappointing last few January periods. But I do think we very much need a fullback because if either Tino or Hall gets injured, we're screwed yet again. So a fullback who can play both sides. And ideally, a midfielder who can be a bit creative, who can carry the ball forward as well. That
Yeah,
would
well, we,
be
we need a we need a reverse Tino Livramento, don't we? So Tino can play
absolutely.
right side, who can also cover on the left, and we need somebody who can be understudy to Lewis Hall, who can then also perhaps fill it in on the right hand side, during injury and stuff like that. Look, Alex Murphy's going to go out on loan. I think we all pretty much sure on that one. He's getting nowhere near, despite the fact that
Mhm.
we're now asked with regards to the amount of defenders that are available. I think midfield does need some work, but look, you've got a £40 million midfielder on the bench, mate, and he's getting nowhere. He's getting no opportunities. He comes on sparingly, and he looks shocking.
Mhm.
He looks a little bit, overweight, out of form. He comes on. His passing's awful. He can't shoot. He can't tackle. You know, we probably let a better midfielder go in Sean Longstaff at this point.
Yeah,
But look,
you might be
you know,
right.
at the end of the day, I think Eddie Howe needs to work with some of the players that he's got and get a tune out of the money that we've already spent. £55 million on Elanga, 40 odd million pound, sat on the bench there
Hmm.
in Ramsey, and £100 million worth of talent that you haven't even seen, 1% of output on. If you can literally get, 50% of what the players that they should be, that'll be a massive, massive boost to the team. Asula looks like he's probably down tools and ready to go anywhere. I mean,
Hmm.
who's actually seen him? But there's a
Yeah.
lot of dead wood, mate. Jamal Lascelles, we're talking about four defenders and everybody is. Where's Jamal Lascelles at? Harrison Ashby. Hello, Harrison Ashby. You cost us £2.5 million.
Yeah.
Are you alive?
I don't think I've ever seen him play a professional
Yeah.
game for us.
He played for the reserves recently. If anybody's seen Harrison Ashby or Jamal Lascelles, I want to offer a bloody reward. I'll send you a prize out the lucky dip bag if you've seen them. Because again, the bench might at least need them. Uh, You know, we're talking about a bit of leadership and a bit of backbone. Jamal Lascelles has been there through it all. I'm not saying he's the world's best defender,
Hmm.
but is he better than having two goalkeepers on the bench?
And he's played
Yeah.
Champions League nights as well. So if he can perform in Europe, surely he can perform in your domestic competition as well.
Yeah, so against Fulham. can we not at least have Lascelles and Harrison Ashby on the bench or one of
Hmm.
the other youngsters that we've got,
Yeah.
just to give them some minutes and just to see what's going to happen? Because what's going to happen, I tell you now, if we keep playing the same four week in, week out, we're going to get another injury
Yeah,
and
and
another
it's going
one.
to be Chow because
Yeah, it's
Chow
going to
is
be out
playing
because he's
every
literally the
single
only.
minute. Yeah.
He was one of the players. I mean, against Sunderland, I thought he was decent. He was trying to stand up. He was trying to
Hmm.
make himself count. Fabian Schär come on and he
Yeah.
did okay.
Strangely enough, Chow was man of the match
Yeah,
according
yeah,
to ratings, which
yeah.
for to be on the losing side as a defender is pretty cool, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't buy anything for it, but yeah.
No, but it is frustrating. We need to get to the bottom of what's happening with them. But if we're not going to play them, get rid of them. Same with Emil
Mhm.
Kraft, Mark Gillespie, the sweetest job in
Yeah.
all of football. Mark Gillespie picks up a wage for putting the cones
Mhm.
out. You know, it's of that level, and you go throughout the entire team. Asula, um,
Mhm.
how long? Oh, I've got an ankle injury. Last seen when? You know, we need players back. Asula, if you can get 20 odd million pound for him, move him on and bring somebody else in, another striker up top. Because I thought when Vissa come on, he still looks a million miles off it. I know he's not been very well. I know how that feels. I had this flu and stuff, and trying to shake it is bad. But high level sports, he's coming on. I don't know. He looks really really small and he came on, and I sort of really felt quite sorry for him, to be honest. He's
Yeah,
thrown in at the deep end. And then, to be honest, where I'd like to go to is yes, we need to get rid of a lot of the dead wood. We do need to bring in probably more than two. I hope that we do. I hope that the powers that be are doing something about it. Because look, if you're going to be winning the Premier League by 2030, you need to start pulling your finger out your ass and getting the deals through the door,
absolutely.
getting some money
Yeah.
generated, and getting some actual players and squad depth built
Mhm.
up.
And I also
Uh,
think we need to learn from this summer, realize that we're not there yet with when it comes to competing with the likes of City, Arsenal for players. So if we want to get our hands on these special young players, we need to go early. We need to go
early.
in January
Yeah.
windows to get them
and,
through
and
the
not and
door.
not wait until they're getting ready to put a bid in, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then my worry is that I can see a situation where you're going to get somebody like a signing's going to be made like James Trafford. Those aren't the priorities, Eddie. We don't need 96
Hmm.
goalkeepers.
Yeah.
We haven't got enough fullbacks. Let's talk about priorities and let's prioritize the really important areas.
Hmm.
So look, we're not doing jack shit going forward. So we need some creativity and we need some more forward reinforcements up there. We're chronically short at fullback. So let's get some in there as well. And whilst we're on, let's look at a few other things like formations. And let's not just think that plan B means plan A plus a couple of substitutes. Yesterday I was screaming, keep Voldemar on. Put Visser up top. Play Voltemada as a 10, Visser up top, and really go for it. Drop a midfielder. Try something different. We've got to
Hmm.
think outside the box a little bit more. But recruitment is key, as is finding these missing players that I don't know at the training ground room, either in some sort of panic room or I don't know. But
Yeah, a lot of these missing
against it.
defenders are out of contract as well in the summer, right? I think it's
Yeah,
Schär, Trippier, Kraft, Lascelles, all are out of contract.
yeah,
And I would be surprised. If it were me, I'd probably only renew Fabian Schär out of those.
yeah. Me
And
too.
that's really harsh towards Kieran Trippier because he's done really big things and he was the first of this new project. But at a certain point, you have to say, look, mate, maybe this will force the board to go and look for a backup
Got to be
fullback
more
as
ruthless,
well.
mate.
Exactly.
We're not
That's
we're not we're
exactly
not
it.
a, we're not a social club just to keep
Mhm.
everybody players happy and everybody to be mates and I want to sign a player that I've had at my previous club and it's not a mates club. You've got to be cutthroat in this business because everybody else is. So
Absolutely.
we've got to develop that ruthless edge and that ruthless approach. Both in fixtures and in both in terms of recruitment as well.
Completely agree. Is there anything else you would like to add on the Derby result before we move on to the Champions League?
Yeah, just one last thing for any Sunderland supporters still listening and probably laughing the tits off at the moment. I tell you what, I'd rather be a Geordie in non-league football than be a Sunderland supporter winning the league and cups and everything else that would come with that. So yeah, stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Go off, see your sister. Yeah, get back under your rock, under where your side. I don't really give an absolute nut a shite about yous lot. Get bent. See you later. Keep it
I
tuned.
I echo every single word that you have just said there. I suggest we will take a little break, and afterwards we are coming back to discuss the Champions League result against Leverkusen and have a look ahead at the Premier League game and EFL Cup game against Chelsea and Fulham coming up next week. And after that break, we are back to cover the Bayer Leverkusen result in the Champions League because, I mean, there
With
is,
London for punishments.
yeah, there's still some things that have to be said about last week's. Yeah, poor performance. I'm gonna be honest, it is a poor performance. We draw 2-2 away in Germany. Bayer Leverkusen take the lead through a corner thanks to it deflecting off of Bruno Guimaraes' ass, but afterwards
We do
we
love an own goal these days, don't we?
yeah,
Oh,
apparently
mate.
so. I can see why we were so interested in Mark Guéhi. Afterwards, in the second half, Mark Vlekken allows us to get back into the game thanks to some really nice pressure from Voltemade onto him, winning back the ball and then getting fouled, winning us a penalty. Anthony Gordon converting that penalty, then putting a beautiful cross onto Louis Miley's head, something we need to see much, much, much more
Yes,
of.
a cross. Hint, hint, lads.
Exactly.
Apologies for listening to this. Goodness me.
And then we do the most Newcastle thing possible and completely fall back on ourselves after we go in front. And we can see it later on to lose yet another 2 points in what could be a crucial Champions League tie.
Yeah, I mean, we could have been in the top eight and quite comfortable. And this is the frustrating thing about it because you know that this squad has got so much potential. You know, it's got some great players in it, but they are not playing to the potential, and they're certainly not concentrating. I always used to remember Titus Bramble. Do you remember him? Before he went to Sunderland and sort of soiled himself, you know, all that sort of thing. He was a player who that in certain matches he had all the physical and the attributes that you need to succeed. But then
Mhm.
all of a sudden he'd go, I don't know, into sort of like stupid mode, and he'd do something absolutely and utterly moronic. And you'd be like, what were you thinking? What was your thought processes during that time? And it's the exact same thing for us. With regards to look, you've got a 2-1. It hasn't been the greatest of performances. It's not been champagne football. It's a bit like, lemonade that's been there for about a fortnight. But you've got a position. Do we see the game out? Do we hell is like, do we it's just like we're just inviting them back into it, and you get to the end of the game and it's same old Newcastle United this season, and it's just like the gift that keeps on giving. We continue to commit the most basic and stupidest of decisions. We make stupid choices out on the pitch. We don't see it through, and we've got to be better. Sometimes, look, you can be 2-1 up and absolutely smash one in, and you think, not our day. You've got to accept it and hold your hands, your hands up. But when they're just literally playing it around you, and you're being literally dragged from pillar to post. You're not seeing it out. You're not being smart. You're not being streetwise. You're not being clever. That's on us. Their equaliser was on us.
Mhm.
Us losing those points from another winning position is on us. We continuously shoot ourselves in the foot all of the time, and it was gutting, and it probably sent a bit of a bad message going into the weekend's game. It probably wasn't the best way to finish a game.
Probably so, yeah. I think in the first part we did touch upon the fact that we do this often, shooting in our own foot. The Liverpool and the Arsenal games came to mind. Now, if you have a look at the
And
the
Spurs.
opponents and the Spurs, but the,
Yeah.
the the point I was making with Arsenal and Liverpool is that those are class teams. It can happen that you lose games pretty late on, and those were impressive performances where we were in it until very late in the game. The Spurs result and this Leverkusen result are the exact opposite. They are examples of us taking what we learned from Liverpool and Arsenal, which is that there's a possibility you win it late and end up with nothing, or at 1 point, which should have been three. And we've taken that towards opponents which we should be beating every single day of the week. This Leverkusen side, yes, they've gone unbeaten 2 seasons ago. From that unbeaten team, I think three players started today. Tapsoba, or on the weekend, Tapsoba, Grimaldo, and Schick. They were there. All of the other ones weren't there. They were brought in to replace the players who went afterwards. So there is no excuses to not just get the 3 points over the line against this Leverkusen side, especially if you look at the start they have had to the season. Okay, yeah, they they have managed to steady the ship fairly well, but still, we were the better team against them as well. If you just had a look at the game, I thought Anthony Gordon did have a really good game, especially the second half. He looked
He
really
loves the Champions League game, doesn't he?
yeah, apparently so. Maybe it's because of the spotlights. Maybe he's trying to play himself into a shop window. Well, if that's the case, then I mean, I hope we can get as much as possible for you because that's not the kind of mentality which is welcome at this football club. But apart from that, yeah, Bruno had a good game. Tonali, I thought was pretty shaky both against Leverkusen and yesterday against Sunderland. You said it, he does look like he's carrying a bit of a knock. I hope Eddie Howe gives him a bit of rest because if you look at the Tonali we had over the start of the season, it's a massive difference towards the Tonali
Yeah,
now.
I think with this game midweek, I think you will see that there will be a couple of changes. Obviously, we can't make wholesale changes
Mm.
because of the injury situation and stuff, but I'm hoping and praying that yeah, some players do get a chance just to step away, to step back. Tonali's absolutely fucking class. I love him to bits, and on his day, he's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. But
Absolutely.
carrying a knock, not carrying an injury. Look, Murphy's the same. Murphy, not to the same level. He's never going to have the potential that Tonali has, but he's playing with a knock, and you can just tell he's a little bit slower. Um, and it takes him a little bit longer just to get it. But in saying that, in that game, he had a slip, I think it was, um, right near right near the box. He was getting ready to take a shot on, slipped, and then sprinted the entire way back. I mean, to try and put a tackle in to try to make up for it. That type of thing. That's the heart and the desire and the wanting to do your best that we sort of lacked a lot of against Sunderland. So although he isn't playing his best at the moment, and I do think he is carrying a knock and there is an issue there. Um, his streets are absolutely streets are miles ahead of some. But I think the game on Wednesday could be a perfect opportunity to maybe rest him, put him on the bench, and use in case of emergency.
Absolutely, yeah. We did see Joe Linton go off with an injury as well around the hour mark, and Lewis Miley come onto the pitch. I thought Miley made a fantastic impact. Of course, he did score the goal, so that makes you notice him a bit more. But apart from the goal, I think he's making all the right decisions when in possession at this moment in time. He's deciding when to beat his man, when to play it sideways, when to try and look for a forward pass. And I think he's really strong in the tackle as well, which is
Yeah,
positive.
he looks like he's
After,
physically built a bit stronger as
yeah,
well, hasn't he? I think he's looked a
that's
lot
where I
more
was where I was
impressive.
going to go to at this point because at the end of last season and the start of this season, I remember not only talking about this but thinking this myself that his progress was starting to not limit himself, but he was starting to stagnate a bit, in my
Hmm.
opinion. But he's now really been taking steps, and at this moment in time, I think that third midfield spot is his to lose, even with the poor performance from yesterday, because I mean everybody was poor. So yeah, positive signs from him, and I hope he can carry that on.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is he offers a bit of a goal threat from midfield, and that's something that we're not carrying enough of at the moment. A midfield with Tonali in, Bruno in, and Mali in should get you goals.
Mhm.
Joe Linton coming in, when he comes in, he should get you the odd goal because obviously he was a striker, believe it or not, back in the day. So you would think he would carry some,
According to the people at
goals.
Hoffenheim.
Yeah, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like we need goals, we need performances, we need players to step up. And I mean, what a fantastic young man Lewis Miley is. He's remained patient, he's come in and he could the likes of Alanga could learn a lot. He's given limited opportunities. When he does get an opportunity, 9 out of 10 times he performs. He's looking for a front forward pass. He's looking for a goal. He's looking to cross the ball in. He's looking to be proactive. He's looking to make the most of his minutes. And then once he gets an opportunity, he wants to keep hold of the shirt. That is what the likes of Alanga, that is what the likes of Jacob Ramsey need to do. But he's definitely made a strong case for a regular run of starts in the team. And it's up to other people, your Joe Lintons, your Ramseys. etc., and your Willocks, although I think Willock might be sold on in January, to be honest, to step up, to take the opportunity, to grasp the challenge, and that's what it should be about. No sulking about it. Get on with it,
Hmm.
and trying to, up your performance so that you're playing better than what they are. And then that, again, it pushes standards up, which I think have dropped a little bit this season.
Yeah. On Joe Willock, I've been really, really harsh on him, especially on this podcast. I do want to say, as over the last 2 to 3 games, Joe Willock has been what all of us had hoped Jacob Ramsey would have been. Some energy in the midfield, someone who is looking to create things for his teammates, for himself, someone who doesn't mind doing the hard yards. That's the Joe Willock we all love from 2 seasons ago. I pray to God he stays fit, and I am genuinely willing to give him this entire December if he can contribute to the fixture congestion over December and January. I'd just keep him for at least another 6 months,
Yeah,
at
I
least
think.
until you have some more cover.
Yeah, I think he actually starts on Wednesday.
Mhm.
Look, I've been putting some posts up about Joe Willock. I've been critical in previous times, but like yourself, I put the last couple of games have shown the green shoots of recovery. We're not saying that he's hitting them in the top bins. We're not saying that he's ripping it up. What we're saying is that you can see encouraging signs. He
Mhm.
looks leaner, hungrier. He's moving a bit better quickly. He's making good decisions. So there was a lot more to be encouraged about with Joe Willock's recent performances than there has been in quite a long time. Because a lot of people were jumping in the comments. He's shite. He's this. He's that. What are you watching? I'm like, I'm watching every single game, every single minute.
Mhm.
I said, but I said, I will critique where critique is necessary. I will say somebody is shite if they're playing shite. But at the same time, I want to give a little bit of credit out when credit is needed. And he's trying his hardest. His long-term future might not be at Newcastle United, but against Fulham in the cup, he could probably come in so we can rest somebody else. I think he'll do more than fine, and there is interest in him in from Crystal Palace, from
Mhm.
Fulham, supposedly as well. Another couple of clubs are sniffing about him. If you could get 20, 25 million pound for him in this market and then try and reinvest that, good. But the thing is about this reinvesting thing, it has to be on better, it has to be on younger, it has to be on hungrier. So it's all
Mhm.
right, spending the money. We spent £100 million on Alanga and Ramsey, and so far they've been shocking. So it's not always about, that. It's sometimes about looking for the solution from within. So give Joe Willock an opportunity. He has done better. And I think if anybody's been fair and look over the last couple of games, there's definitely been the green shoots of recovery. So
Absolutely.
you've
Yeah.
got to be fair, and I think he's warranted a chance and an opportunity in this huge game coming up
Mhm.
midweek at St James's Park against Fulham.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think what's massive for him is that he it just looks like he's not afraid to get injured anymore with every time he touches the ball, which was the problem last season
Yeah.
and the season before. He was struggling so bad with his fitness that even when he came onto the pitch, you saw he was holding back. You saw he
Hmm.
was shying away from challenges, and that's
To not
completely
get injured again.
understandable. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's completely understandable when you've been out for so long. But it's also very, very useful when you just get back into those challenges and when you just useful for the team. That is,
Yeah.
of
So
course.
look, just get behind him. What I would say to people listening to this who go into the game midweek, get behind him. Give him
Absolutely.
that little bit of confidence, and you never know if we
Hmm.
could get 75% of the player back that we had under Steve bloody Bruce, of all people,
Yeah, because I
then
genuinely
you've
do
got
believe this
you've
is
got a
an
good player. You've got a
yeah,
good player there.
absolutely. This is an upper mid-table tier player at the very, very least. We all remember that magical assist he gave with the outside of his boot
Yeah.
against Tottenham. That was unbelievable. He's got that in his locker. He's actually a really, really technical player. And before all of his injury troubles start to come in, I was somebody who was consistently banging the drum that he should be not necessarily starting, but at least on the fringes of the England squad. That's
Yeah.
probably
So,
not going
so,
to
so why
happen
not? So,
anymore, but
yeah,
yeah,
but I mean, injuries have taken a toll on him. There's no doubt about it. And you're right. He looked a player devoid of confidence, and it looked like he was made of glass. And he was going into tackles, looking to back out. And as a midfielder in a very combative area of the pitch, that's a dangerous thing. But he does look as if he's got a little bit of confidence back, a little bit of belief back. He's getting minutes. He's making positive contributions. And look, he's somebody who can get goals from midfield, and we're not doing that enough. You've got to look, as a club and as an attacking unit, we've lost a lot of goals out of the team. We've got to look at every possible avenue to getting the goals back in it, whether that's a change of formation and playing Visser up top alongside Big Nick, dropping a midfielder and going to two, whether that's persevering with Eddie's 4-3-3, but getting, Joe Willock into the team and giving him an opportunity. I don't know what it is, but whatever we do, it has to be with the end result of getting more goals and getting a player who'll approach the box and not just look for the nice little safe, easy pass. Somebody who will try and get a good pass, who will try and get a shot away. It's those sort of things. So Willock could be, I talked about before, looking from within for solutions and answers, and he could certainly help in the short to medium term, definitely.
Completely agree. Yeah. On the Leverkusen game, some other players whose performances we might want to highlight. Harvey Barnes was playing on the right, something he has done for us previously, but not that often. Do you like him on the right? I'm not too convinced.
I'm a bit like you. I'm not too convinced, but his link-up play in one or two of the games with Nick Voltemade on the right is
Hmm.
really, really good. They seem to find each other really, really well, and Barnes will whip you across in. Um, but there's all of that cutting back in and going back in on your left. I don't
Hmm.
like to see it. I like to see a right footer on the right hand side who can get down and whip across in and cause havoc that way. And not these little clip crosses that we do all the time, which have little to no pace on them and seem to take an age to drop out of the
Hmm.
sky, and by which time the defense has got into positions. So it's not my favourite use of him. To be honest, I think he's playing far better than what Gordon is, and I'd have Harvey Barnes on the left. And with Gordon, he came on, and there was a game recently at St James's Park. He came on as a sub, and he was fantastic. He was great. He was driving into the box. He looked like he got a bee in his bonnet. He looked a bit pissed off.
Hmm.
I'd much rather have Gordon coming off the bench looking pissed off and wanting to prove a point than the Gordon that we saw at the weekend, who was just sort of like la-di-da, and is my hair okay, and that sort of thing. So I'd much rather see, for the time being, Harvey Barnes on the left and having Gordon on the bench until you book your ideas up at the end of the day.
Completely agree. Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to add to this Bayer Leverkusen performance? Some other
No, I
players you
mean,
would want to highlight?
Cal says it was a much better experience than the Marseille one. I think the both sets of fans got on really, really well. It was
Hmm.
all about the football.
Yeah.
No trouble, no bother, none of that. It was a really great trip all the way, all the way through, apart from in the last couple of minutes of our performance. But look, we've let 2 points slip away from us there. Let's hope that that's not going to cause us too much issues. I do think now we're probably more looking towards the extra playoff round, as opposed to the top eight. We've got PSV and PSG. The
Hmm.
PSV game, as Liverpool found, won't be a give me, but I would back us to be able to get a result in that game.
Hmm.
I
We
think that
should.
pretty much puts us into the playoffs, the extra additional round, and then against PSG. You never know. We were screwed last time, weren't we? But I'm not holding my breath,
Yeah,
expecting a
this is a
great deal
completely
out of
different
this. You know?
PSG team. That
Yeah,
was
exactly.
Mbappe's PSG. This is a whole
It's
different
different.
beast.
And you're going to have the whole, aren't you? Again, the French police. You're going to have
Yeah.
the issues around fans getting in and intimidation and all that sort of thing. So look, get the PSV victory hopefully in the bag in the
Hmm.
next Champions League game.
Make it 30 points.
Yeah, get through pretty much, you would say, into the playoff round,
Hmm.
and look, the adventure goes on a little bit, and hopefully we get our shit together in the meantime and
Hmm.
start putting in a regular good performance from Newcastle United. But yeah,
Absolutely.
happy enough. At the end of the day, I think we'd all have taken a point before the match started, um,
Yeah.
and we move on, don't we? We've got to move on that one.
Completely agree. I'm glad to hear that Kyle did have a good experience in the Bay Arena. I suggest we have a listen because that's the only voice note I do have for this week.
Yeah.
To have a listen to Kyle's match reaction afterwards.
And what's happening, everyone? It's Kyle from Magpie247, and I hope you're all good. So, it's finished at the Bay Arena. by Leverkusen 2, Newcastle United 2, and it seems to be a similar story throughout Newcastle's season, this, doesn't it? I mean, first half, we started with a strong side. First half, which seemed really off it, just weren't in it at all. Like, if the penalty gets given and not a free kick from outside the box, that probably is a game that gets too far away from one in the end. But second half, we came out and responded really well. Walter Mara forcing a mistake from Flecken to get the penalty. Brilliant from Walter Mara, and then Gordon puts it away. That's 3-3 now for Gordon, so he's starting to hit form, and he looked good again tonight, especially in that second half. And then Lewis Miley, what a fucking header! He came on for Joe Linton, and for me, for the team that I wanted to see walk out with Leverkusen, the only difference was Miley in for Joe Linton, because I feel like we're much better in possession when Miley's on the field. And what a header from Lewis Miley, and he came on and he was really good as well. For me, I think that performance from Miley has got to be Joe Linton no longer being a starter. And that might be controversial, that might be whatever, but for me, that's got to be Lewis Miley being the starter now. And until one of Joe Linton, Joe Willock, or Jacob Ramsey come in and show what they can do and get above Miley in that list, they're going to have to wait on rotation and stuff like that. Because as far as I'm concerned, Lewis Miley's is the number 3, is the third man in that midfield. But it goes to the familiar story again, doesn't it? And not hanging on to a lead. It's so frustrating because that second half, man, were unbelievable, and we deserved to walk out with that with 3 points. Yet the way we are in the last 10 minutes of games is unacceptable. How many goals were conceded in the last 10 minutes of games this season? The list has got to be long. And it's so fucking frustrating, man, because on another day where we hit the post twice, the goalkeeper Flecken makes an unbelievable save just before they go up and score their equaliser. Visa had a chance as well. So, like, on another day, that could have been a comfortable 3 points. And that's the way I'm trying to look at it going into the derby, but it makes us feel like to win a game of football for Newcastle, we either need to be 2 goals in front or we need to score at the last kick of the ball, because we can't hold on to a lead. We'd be shit at walking dogs. Like, honestly, it'd be terrible. We'd lose loads of them. But, like, honestly, this season, it's just a theme. And I feel like the last time, legitimately, honestly, that were defended really well for the last 10 minutes of a game and held on to a lead when we needed to was the Carabao Cup final. And since that day, it's just, we fell apart in the last 10 minutes of games. Like, we were comfortable against Burnley and nearly threw that away as well. Tottenham, very similar to tonight, where the last 10 minutes of a game, we sit back and we just we look like we're just inviting pressure on. And Eddie made changes far too fucking late tonight. He really did. He brought on Visa and he brought on Jacob Ramsey as a response to the second goal. When if we were inviting pressure on and they looked really solid in midfield, which was where the goal came from, the centre of the park, couple of bit of mix and move, and they managed to get through with defence. Like, from there, surely you flood the midfield and bring on a couple of more midfielders. Maybe take one of the wingers off and sit narrow and compact. That's what we usually do under Howe, where we sit compact and we sit deep and we look hard to break down. But Leverkusen managed to find a way, and it's because we just opened up for them. They were drawn out one runner. They drew out Dan Burn a number of times into false space, and they were running in behind. They did that a number of times, and it finally worked for them for the goal to get the equaliser. And it's so frustrating because, like I say, we had chances in that half to blow them the fucking way, and we're so much the better side in that second half. well, the chances were had and the chances were created. Gordon played really well. I mean, well, Amara was creating loads of chances. Lewis Hall looked really good on the left-hand side. Like, we're creating loads of chances. And that's been a problem away from home this season where we've came away and been like, have we had any chances today? But you can't say that tonight. We had loads of chances. As I say, we hit the post twice. Flecken makes a great save. And then obviously from that as well, we had a Visa chance just towards the end there. And at the end of the day, like Bayer Leverkusen are a really great side. And they literally won the league a couple of years ago here in Germany. And yeah, they're a really good side. And it is a good point in the grand scheme of things, given they're like top four of Bundesliga and, like a very good side. And yeah, it is a good point on paper, but I think that second half would deserve to come out with 3 points, and we've kind of just dropped horses in the last 10 minutes. And it's a shame, and it's a theme of our season, but I did want to end this on a positive note because I think the point is a good point at the end of the day. But I think the one thing I do want to say is fair fucking play to the Bayer Leverkusen fans, the people of Leverkusen, and the police as well. Absolute like credit to Germany. Like, we know how bad it was for fans in France, getting hit with batons of police officers, and the fans chucking tear gas into Newcastle spaces and stuff pre-game, but complete opposite in Germany, man. Like, had a couple of days here, myself and my fiance and stuff for the Christmas markets and everything, and the people here have been absolutely great. And then on the match day, unbelievable stuff from the police as well. There wasn't any trouble or anything like that. Like, I sat in the neutral end tonight, close to the away end in F4, and the Leverkusen fans and the police as well. Just an absolute credit, and that's the way it should be. Do you know what I mean? Where like fans from opposing sides are shaking hands and like and going on with their day. Do you know what I mean? It was nice to have that in it, and I think it's something that definitely needs to be mentioned in a positive manner because of the way the French police went on in the last game, to where the club issued statements and voiced their displeasure at the authorities at France and obviously the fans of Marseille as well. But by Leverkusen, like, fair fucking play. It was a really nice place to to watch a football match, and it felt like the police were a presence, and if there was any trouble, they could deal with it, but they didn't get like over involved and try and like play the big man or anything. It was really refreshing to see, actually, and that's what I want to end my voice note on, just saying that as well, because I think that's important to highlight for sure. But as for the football, a similar a theme of our season by the sounds of things, and obviously we'll move on to Sunday. But to beat them, we're either going to have to win by several goals or score the last kick of the ball to win the game. Because can we hold on to a lead? Back to you, Ian.
And then touch upon the table real quick for the Champions League, because we are in 12, only behind Tottenham and Dortmund, who are 1 point ahead of us. But yeah, that PSV game is a very, very big opportunity for us to at least get back into that top 8. Do we drop out if we lose against PSG on the last game day? Probably, but it does mean we are not only in with the first 24, but high up in those
Yeah.
places. So it means we will face a very low ranked side in that top 24 as well. So that could be a very big positive for us. And don't
To be honest,
forget,
so the way that we've been playing, we're probably better off playing a Real
yeah,
Madrid or somebody like
yeah,
that, you know.
that
So
actually
being a
might be
top
true as
team.
well.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, I am very positive for us in Champions League because on the one hand, I think Eddie Howe has shown he is a very, very good manager when it comes to two-legged ties. Think of the semi-final against Arsenal last
Yes, good man,
season.
Arsenal.
That was spot-on management by Eddie Howe. Completely saw out that game for us. And don't forget, we have Fulham and Chelsea next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Leverkusen next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Magpie247 Podcast next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Fulham and Chelsea next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Magpie247 Podcast next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Fulham and Chelsea next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Magpie247 Podcast next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Fulham and Chelsea next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Magpie247 Podcast next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Fulham and Chelsea next week. So that could be a very big test for us. And don't forget, we have Magp And one of the ties will always be at home, which is absolutely massive for us as well. A Champions League
It is.
knockout match under the light at St. James's Park. That is going to be hard for anybody to draw. So I think don't write us off, even with our massive struggles towards the start of the season, and there have been massive struggles at the beginning of this season. On PSV, look, they have had some really, really good results. 4-1 against Liverpool, 6-2 they won against Napoli. But the one clue, I think, to winning a game against PSV is to win the physical battle. If you outmuscle them, if you outrun them, there is little chance they will win against you because PSV are this typical Dutch total football kind of picture. Their center backs are a ball playing 20-year-old from Spain and their number 6 from last season who's now dropped in between the lines to be the ball playing center back. The fullbacks are quite attacking minded, the midfielders are quite attacking minded. So again, win that physical battle. Make sure you don't man mark them but zonal mark because their striker and number 10 like to interchange with one another, and then we should be absolutely fine against them.
That's the plan. I mean, if we can't beat PSV at home, then again, you're probably saying that we don't deserve to go through
Probably,
anyway.
yeah.
So let's get the result hopefully against PSV, make it nice and easy for ourselves going into the
Hmm.
last game. You don't know with PSG, they could rest players depending upon how things go for them as
Yeah,
well
they've
if they
got
qualify
13
for World.
points, which is
Yeah,
3 more than us, but it does mean they are in third. That's
yeah,
how close the Champions League table is. It's all close, and then you have Arsenal at the top.
yeah. Well, they'll blow it, won't they, with Lego Head in charge? But
Probably, yeah.
yeah, if PSG, if they're comfortable, if they're going to get through in the top 8, they may rest players for bigger challenges
Mhm.
ahead. So you never know. But we take care of our business first of all at St James's Park, and then that puts it to bed. We're guaranteed some sort of European competition going forward, and that in itself will be an absolutely massive, massive achievement. So
Absolutely.
it's not going bad, is it really, in the Champions League terms of things at the moment?
Completely agree. Talking about fixtures which will be played at St. James's Park next week, both fixtures will be. And we start off with a cup fixture in which we are defending our Carabao Cup title against Fulham. Let's say, without disrespecting the opponent, winnable draw, which could see us come back to that two-legged semi-final once again. What are your expectations for this Fulham game?
Well, it's going to be typical. I think Newcastle United. I think hand on heart, I do expect us to get the victory over the 90 minutes. Do I think it's going to be easy? No, because we will make it difficult for ourselves. There's no doubt about it. That is just typical us these days, isn't it? But look, the result is the most important thing. It's going to be a massive, massive pressure cooker situation. The fans are going to be pissed off, and the players can't sugarcoat it open, and can't expect anything else. Pretty much. But and it's time for them to step up, wear the big boy pants, and get the results. It's very important. Look, if we can get back through to the final, if we can defend our trophy, that's European football as well as another cup. So it's going to be an attraction for players coming in because I think it's going to be a busy summer because I think some will leave and I think some painful ones may leave. Um, and
Yeah.
we're going to have to be recruiting in. So, double cup champions has a decent sound to it, doesn't it? And also, we'd also get back into a form of European
Hmm.
competition. So it would be a bit of a get out of jail card with regards to our league form, a bit like what Spurs have done previously.
Yeah.
So if we win the cup, we get obviously the trophy and we get back into Europe as well.
Yeah,
The
this
other team
Conference
that's
League,
left in
right?
it,
The
yeah,
Carabao Cup
Conference League.
is, yeah,
I mean, it's not fantastic, but at the end of the day, you can still sell it and say, look, it's a you. We're on a project. We're back in Europe. We're regularly in
absolutely.
Europe.
And if
Uh,
you're an English side in the Conference League, you're automatically favorites to win it.
yeah. So and that again, who would be against winning any sort of European competition? These people I've heard,
Exactly.
oh, we've already won the League Cup. Oh, we should. Hey, I've had to wait 40 odd years for something one. I don't want to wait another 40 odd years to
Completely
experience
agree.
that again. So we're not drinking out of cups. I am not snobbish at all. If it's the
Mhm.
League Cup, we win, absolutely fantastic. An FA Cup, brilliant. If we're in the Conference League and we go all the way in that, absolutely fantastic. I'll be there every step of the way. I want these lads to win. I want the club to be successful. I want the club to move on. And whatever European competition that is, I don't take that for granted because the competition in the Premier League for European spaces is absolutely and utterly fierce. Look at Man United in and out, absolute, not even in the Egg Cup, you know. So end of the day, I'm not snobbish at all. I've been there. I've seen us win. Well, I saw us win the Intertoto Cup. I was there when Scott Parker held up his little certificate
All
and
right.
everything. So
That's
the
great.
claim to fame. I get all the
Yeah,
jazzy
yeah, absolutely.
jazzy job. Look,
Absolutely.
I've been through some terrible times as a Newcastle United supporter. I was there, Joe Kinnear as manager. I was there the dark days, just before Keegan, originally
Oof.
came. I've seen some absolute crap times. I've seen us. I can remember being the last out. We lost Steve McLaren's last game. We lost against Bournemouth. I think it was something like 2-0. And
Mm.
I was right behind the goal in the Gallagher. And I sat there for ages. The stadium emptied out, and the stewards are looking at me. And I had to sort of look at my face to say, "Don't even ask me to move until I'm ready to move. I'll bite your head off." Type look. And I just sat there, and I was staring at the back of the net, just sort of trying to consider. And I must have been the only one there by a good 15 minutes
Mm.
before the stewards dared sort of like come over and just gently tap me on the shoulder. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll leave. I'll leave when I'm ready. Thank you very much." Um, so look, I've been there, Wally with the brolly, the dark times before Keegan. I've seen all of the Kinnear circus, the Ashley stuff, Lee Charney and his slip-on shoes because he can't tie his
Mhm.
own laces. So I would never be a snob to say turn down a European adventure, to
Yeah.
turn down trophies, League Cup, Conference League, you name it. If we're in it to win it, as far as I'm concerned.
Completely agree. And if you win the Conference League, you play Europa League next season. If you win the Europa League, you play Champions League the season afterwards. And again, it's about filling up that trophy cabinet after you've had to wait for trophies for so many years. On the Fulham game, I do expect us to beat Fulham as well, and that's without disrespecting Fulham.
Yeah, no
It's
disrespect to Fulham, no beef
absolutely
with them.
Fulham are a fantastic side, and Marco Silva's actually done a fantastic job to keep them so competitive in the Premier League. But
Good
Marco
manager.
Silva, yeah, Marco Silva is now running out of. I mean, his contract is running out at the end of the season. There's still no clear nobody really knows if he's going to extend his deal because he felt last summer he didn't get the investment that he was promised. For example, he was promised a midfielder, which they didn't buy. They let Andreas Pereira go, which he was not happy with at all. So there is some discontent in that camp. Having said that, though, they are starting to pick up some results in the league. If this wasn't at St. James's Park, this might have been a closer game, but the fact that we
Yeah.
are playing at home means there aren't really any excuses for us to be getting the
And
result.
a full house, mate. 52,000 turning up after that absolute shower of shit at the weekend. Goes to show you there's not another club like our club in the entire fucking
Mm,
world, to be honest.
completely agree.
52,000 midweek. I mean, I'll be traveling up. It'll be 3 hours up, 3 hours down. I won't get back till, 2 o'clock in the morning, something daft
Mm,
like that. Up again with the kids the following day. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It's in the blood. You care about it. And,
that's what it means.
it's what it means. And it's like, oh, you're criticizing players. It doesn't fill me with joy to have to
Mm,
criticize. But again, I can only tell you what I'm seeing.
completely agree. Yeah. Uh, Now I suggest we have a quick look ahead to the Chelsea result, or the Chelsea game as well to finish off this episode. A Chelsea game at home in the Premier League. A Chelsea side which might even be more inconsistent than we are, because this Chelsea team is really, really unpredictable. They've played some fantastic games, smashing up Barcelona 3-0 in the Champions League, drawing against Arsenal in a game which they at least went toe-to-toe with them. And afterwards, they lost 3-1 to Leeds. So this really, really is a team that's all over the place. I've always theorized that the problem with this Chelsea side is the fact that it's all youngsters. I often make the comparison with when you're growing trees. If you only plant young trees, then a lot of those trees will die because there's just simply coming too much wind, too much rain, too much sunlight towards those trees. Whereas if you put up some bigger, older trees in between them, they can benefit from the shadows those trees offer. It's the same thing with the squad of this Chelsea team have got. They don't seem to have the players to be able to motivate themselves for every single game. Only the big games they get really up for. And the one other thing they will also massively struggle with and are going to, or their struggles are going to grow over the season with this problem, is fitness. They have not had a summer, especially thanks to that glorified preseason tournament they have had to participate in, and they are going to
They took
absolutely
the money.
physically crumble.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Yes, that tournament. Goodness me, you're right. I think as the season goes on, they're going to find it more and more difficult. Yes, they've got 560 players or something like that, and probably
Hmm.
another 1,000 out on loan. They collect they they do sort of they're like some sort of a hoarder, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hoarder of players. Anybody at all comes out and it's just like, oh, we'll have that. We need that. We need that. They
And
have got
as soon as they
embarrassing
turn 23, get out. Get out of
yeah,
my club.
literally. You know, that's the struggles that they're having. The dynamic, I don't think isn't quite there. They're not as tight knit, maybe as what they need to be. You're right, they haven't got enough experience. But what they have got is a lot of quality, exciting players. If we're not at our absolute best, and bearing in mind it'll pretty much probably be the same team because
Hmm.
defense wise we're on our ass with numbers. If we're not on it 100%, they are more than capable of putting us to the sword. But we need to get about them. We need to make it an intimidating atmosphere. They don't like that side of things. Put the pressure on. Hopefully, you never know if we can get one of their players sent off, get into their heads. Um,
Malo gusto.
and yeah, just so that again,
He
the
is the one.
experienced players have been saying, no, challenge it out. Just concentrate on what you're doing. Do what you're doing. But there's none of that, and it's a bit
Mm.
like a sort of giant youth club or one of them summer camps in America, Chelsea, aren't they? They're just a collection of random bits. It's a bit like going into one of these, the emporiums and stuff where they've got collections of weird furniture all sort of grouped together,
Yeah,
and they're a bit like
absolutely.
that. They spend money like tap water, and their answer to everything. If it isn't working, we'll just chuck another couple of £100 million at it. We'll get rid of some more youngsters. We'll bring
Hmm.
another load of new youngsters in. We're trying, funnily enough, to get a little bit more like them. We want a conveyor belt of players coming in that we can sell for profits, bring in for the first team, jettison some. So we are trying to copy sort of Chelsea's model in some
Hmm.
ways, but it's a bit chaotic, it's a bit messy. I think there's an opportunity to get amongst them and to get something out of it. I think we need at least a point. Ideally, because of the struggles that we've had last weekend, it puts the pressure on to get the 3 points. I think we're capable of getting the 3 points. Whether we will or not will probably be in part decided by how many players we've got left and available. It's not going to be easy to field a strong team, especially defensively. And we've got to be able to have the legs in us to get about
Hmm.
them and to create chances. But there's a possibility of getting points out of that game. Um, Everything crossed because we need him.
Yeah.
We need him.
I completely agree. Especially with the fact that we are trying to be a bit more like Chelsea, especially with the way we are run on the
Yeah, the
transfer
business
front.
side of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like us to copy the fact that Chelsea have a seemingly limitless pool of talent which they can draw from, both if in case they miss a player through a big injury and they want to get someone out of the reserves, but also in case they want to sign somebody, they can just look towards two, three players. Yeah, we're not going to use you, just sell you, make some quick profit, and bring in a new player. That would be really, really great if we could
Mm.
have a business model like that. But on the other hand, the fact that they sign players on contracts towards 2030, 2032, that means that they are paying players like Mikhailo Mudrik until 2030, who has been arrested again last week. So there are some big risks which I don't want us to copy from that strategy, but overall, I do like us to be a
We
bit
just
more
need a couple of
mobile.
hotels to sell on. We'll sell off a car park and a hotel, and Some bits like that. Maybe the
Yeah,
multi-story car park out the back of the ground. We could sell that off for a few
that could
tens of
be
millions of pounds.
that could
We
be
could
really
do something
useful,
like
yeah.
that.
Aren't
But
there
yeah,
aren't there a couple of car parks in Saudi Arabia we could be selling off right now?
exactly that. That's the thinking that we need. Joined up thinking.
Fantastic. I think that's a pretty comprehensive preview for both Fulham and the Chelsea game. Do you have any quick predictions for both games?
Well, I'm going to go. It's going to be a narrow one. It's going to be a squeaky bum one, isn't it? Midweek 2-1, Newcastle United to beat Fulham. I'm going to go for, and then at the weekend against Chelsea, yeah, 2-1 again. A couple of
All
two
right.
ones. It's going to be squeaky, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I
going to be
think so
difficult.
too. I think we're winning 1-0 against Fulham, but the fact that that will be squeaky, I hope the players can motivate themselves and the Chelsea players deflate a bit. So I'm actually going for a 3-1 home victory.
Well, that would do very nicely. That would do very
Absolutely.
nicely.
That
Hey,
could
who starts in goal midweek? Does John Ruddy make his debut? Goodness me. I don't think I'm ready for that.
That's actually a really good question as well, because will Nick Pope finally be fit again? And if he is fit again, does he maybe get the nod back? Who knows?
I don't know. I'll tell you something though. When he does come back fit, I hope he's learned how to dive. Goodness me.
Or at
He always
least
needs to go
just
down in like
stay
slow,
in his
slow
16
motion.
yard box.
Just like, like that. Just get down, Nick. And I hope he's discovered how to kick as well. That'd be an absolute great Christmas box for me if he could learn
Absolutely.
how to kick. Because he's taking years off my life with his distribution. Goodness me, Popey. Come on, man.
Oh, we're all hoping for a Christmas miracle here.
Oh, why not? Hey, whilst we're on, if I can have a bit of hair as well, that'd be great also.
The
Come on,
Voldemort
Santa
cuts,
Claus.
we know what we're asking for. All right, with that having said, I would like to thank everybody for listening in and watching, if you did watch this on YouTube, to the first filmed episode of the ToonTALK Magpie 24/7 podcast. If you were listening to this on Spotify, first of all, please make sure to give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. And then head over to YouTube to see us do this in person as well. Give us another couple of views, why not? Please head over to Magpie 24/7 on all your social media platforms as well. Think about YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you know the drill. And me and Paul would like to thank you for listening and see you again in the next episode. Have a good one.
Keep it tuned.